A lady who has been telling you how to deal with stress. From I've been here in this program for the last 20 odd years, and she is waiting to tell you about not just intellectual stress, but bureaucratic and everyday stress.
Right. Thanks again, Dr. Branch, and good evening, everyone. Okay, so I want to add my word of welcome to you all as the new cohort for the human resource. It used to be management. Development, no, not management. Okay. I can depend on Ms. Thomas to put me on the right path. That's also the problem that comes when you've been around for a while. Names change. Different, let's see, HRD, Orientation 2017. That one, yes. Thanks so much. Right, so welcome to you all. You're here for a few semesters in the scheme of things, but some very important semesters in your lifetime as you're pursuing this master's course. It always makes me think when I talk with a group of graduate students. My own days in grad school flash rapidly before my eyes, and I will tell you they were some of the best days of my life. I hope that that will be the same for you guys as well too. Friendships forged, ideas that you look at, learning about things at a different level, all can really be exciting and enriching. So I trust that that is what your journey will be like. Now, when I got the email, apart from stress issues, I was asked to tell you a little bit about the services that we offer at the counseling service, and then to talk about handling things to do with time management, one of the major sources of stress for graduate students, and also the whole matter of study skills. A little refresher, because the fact that you're here doing a master's means that you know how to study. But I suspect, let me see the hands of those who are coming straight from undergrad. Okay, in the minority, okay? Most of the rest of you have spent anywhere from a year to plenty more outside there, and maybe coming back feeling a little rusty in terms of will I fit back into UWI, all those sorts of things. So we'll address a little of that as well too. Let me just confirm, I've got 40 minutes. All right, okay. So I call this being healthy and doing well, because we trust that if you stay healthy physically and emotionally, you will indeed be able to do well in your program. So that's the title that I dreamt up somewhere when I was putting this together again. Okay, so I want to talk about some of the resources available to you, particularly in my workplace, the health center. Just to let you know that right across the road, literally, you walk directly over from this section and you're looking at the health center. And by the way, how many of you were UWI students before? Okay, roughly half. For those of you who are UWI students, how many of you graced the health center with your presence during any part of it? Okay, so some of you at least do know a little bit about where we are and what we do experientially. The rest of you are new to us, but as I said, we're into trying to keep you healthy. So we have medical people, we have our counselors, and I'm one of the counselors. We have a psychiatrist, and you're saying, Lord have mercy, you will send you mad. That is a myth out there on the road, by the way, or used to be anyway. I send me good picnic to you and then come back mad. It's not really true. As my colleague is fond of saying, part of the thing, especially with undergrads, is often that's the age when mental illness strikes for the first time. It just happens to coincide with when people come to UWI. But the important thing is that with assistance, many of our students who have a condition which requires medication are able to complete their degree. I'm thinking of one right now. I can't remember if it was upper second or first class that was achieved. Actually was hospitalized for a time, but made it through UWI and made it through UWI with flying colors, which is one reason why, as I said, we've got a psychiatrist on staff. If there are problems which require medication affecting emotional and mental health, that's the job of the psychiatrist. Counselors do not prescribe medication. If I ever tried to do that, my license would be taken away from me, but we talk with you and offer support through your time when necessary. We have a pharmacy that is reasonably well stocked, and you can get your prescriptions filled there. A public health nurse is there. Only on a Friday afternoon, however, so things like vaccinations, sometimes they're sending you off to, a few years ago I went to Suriname, so I had the joy of having to have the yellow fever vaccination. I think nowadays, even if you're going to Trinidad, you probably have to have that. So our southern cousins are making us have to get yellow fever vaccination. We can get that done at the health center. There is a dentist. We have a fully stocked dental clinic. You can get your teeth cleaned. You can see the dentist for fillings, extractions, things of that nature. And a nutritionist is also available, which is the only service you actually pay cash for. The rest, except for the pharmaceuticals, of course, is covered by swiping your card, your health card, which you receive once you have paid your fees. Okay, I need to stress the last part, because if you haven't paid your fees, people, no card, no benefits, no whole heap of things. So make sure you get their pound of flesh early in the process. It makes life much easier for you. The nutritionist cost, I think, is $3,000 for the first visit, a little less for the next one. But looking at you all, you look fairly well nourished so far, but you never can tell, right? Okay. Just as you said, 11 Gibraltar Campway, we're open during the semester 8:30 to 7:30. 8:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. So those of you who work all day but still want to access our services can do that. And during holiday periods, it's 8:30 to 4:30, which is till the end of August. Then we go back to the extended hours. Saturdays 9 to 12, primarily by appointments. Phone numbers are there for you, should you want to write those down. Could be useful to have them, or put them in your phone just in case you need to contact. And the counseling service has a number all its own, so that is also there. We are not open till 7:30 every evening, but there is an evening counselor who's there 2 evenings for the week. So again, those of you working can access after hours counseling with that particular counselor. Well, it varies from time to time. Last time, if I remember correctly, it was Tuesday and Wednesday. But depending on what is going on, we may change it in a particular semester. But once we set it, it normally remains set for that semester. So usually if you're having an appointment, you access our receptionist and she will let you know. If you can't come, just let her know if you really can't come in the day, and she'll set that appointment for the evening person. We usually try and do the first one in the day, but if necessary, it can be done in the evening. Medicus card and ID card, please, for each visit to the health center, including to the counselors. Medication, you laugh, those of you who are working, obviously, $6,000 to cover medication, but major medical, $2,000 to cross over into that, and then it's the usual 80% copay, all right? But it only covers visits at the UWI Health Center and medication at our pharmacy, and referrals to the hospital, University Hospital. It doesn't cover you if you're going to Andrews. It doesn't cover you if you are seeing your private doctor outside, so just be aware of that fact. And should you run into situations which require an exam excuse, sometimes that's for medical reasons, sometimes there's something happening emotionally, which is making you unable to cope with exams. The excuse is best done straight through the health center. Now, if you go see your private doctor, they're required to actually write a report to the director, not just a sick leave certificate. Can I underline that? You know, just put the facts right out there. And I'll add a little fact. My director has been around much longer than me, and she's very good at having suspicions when she sees certain sick leave certificates and goes, you know, I don't understand this certificate at all, or this report at all. I need clarification. Because you know, some of you have good friends who are doctors who take pity on you when you come and say, boy, I just can't make it. And if she doesn't quite figure out what this report is about, she's checking it further. So, which is why we say it saves you a lot of bureaucracy and problems if you can make it to the health center. If you are sick and think you need an exam excuse, come to our section. Doctor will evaluate, and if you genuinely need it, you will get it. However, I do point out that sometimes doctor says 2 Panadol and go write your exam. That has been known to happen too, okay? So, you know, if you're coming and it's just a little headache, you might want to just take the 2 Panadol and save yourself the time if it works for you. Thank you so much, Olivine. Yeah, Olivine has been here almost as long as me, working with students in this group, so she knows the stories of things that can happen. And certainly, if there's a bereavement, we know you can't concentrate, okay? So you come to us, we sort out the paperwork for you. That would normally be coming to the counseling section, and we sort out what needs to be sorted out, or anything else that's going to have a major emotional impact. So I may have sounded a little flippant or a little tongue-in-cheek when I said, you know, take 2 Panadol. But I'm really, once there is an issue which really could affect your performance, please see whether the counseling or the medical staff. It's interesting that Olivine said that, because up to today, I was talking to a student who had a situation but was like, I don't want anybody to know. Going through problems, don't want anybody to know. And it impacted things. So really, I'm so glad Olivine said that. When there is a problem, talk. Find help. It may not be the health center that's the appropriate place. It may be the coordinator, the director for the program, but don't feel that you should hug up your problems because you're a big person now. All right? All of us need help to get through life. And if you are having a situation which really is giving you difficulty, ask for help. If you speak with the coordinator or anyone in the department, they all know about what we can do. And if they say to you, go speak to the counselor, it's not because they think you're crazy, and it's not because they're trying to brush you off. They know the work we do in terms of how they've seen the help that some of the students have had, being able to resettle and come through well. And so if they point you in our direction, don't bother come 1 semester later when it really gone bad. Something we're not unused to seeing. All right? So my department, as in the department I work in, I don't own it. One of these days I will be gone from it. So remember, early advice, always have another life apart from your work life, guys. And that's important to deal with stress as well, too. So we offer one-on-one sessions to deal with anything you want to deal with, personal concerns, academic concerns. So those of you who are rusty and going, you know, I'm really not sure how I deal with getting back into the studies, and I'm trying, but I'm struggling, you might choose to come into us and have a session where we give you some tips. There is also a unit called the Academic Support Unit, which is a few years old, which can also give assistance on things like time management, etc. But sometimes you're foundering, you know you're foundering, helps there for that. Relationship issues get in the way, and you're all at the stage probably where even if you're not in a relationship, you're looking around, you're recovering, you're doing something. And those things can weigh on the mind heavily, and not just the mind of the ladies. I sometimes say that the worst case I saw in my UWI time of a relationship problem was one of the young men. And I haven't seen any young lady as broken up as that young man was. So whatever the gender, whatever the issue, if it's getting in the way, we're there, you can talk to us about it. Other things, anxiety. For some of you, especially with the presentations, some of you have what clinically we describe as social anxiety. So you're good one-on-one. You're okay enough in a small group, but put you in front of 20 people and you freeze. Okay? If that describes you, make an early appointment. September, come look for one of us and get working on that, because I think what I gather is one of the plenty presentations. Correct, Ms. Olivine? And plenty. Well, all right. So if you're having issues interpersonally with your group, we can help you learn a little bit of the teacher group dynamics too, but we can enhance it for you personally. But especially with the social anxiety, with the presentations, that's something which we actually have fun working with you. It's one of the areas. It's fairly, for us, you can see good results, usually within a semester, and be able to help people move along. We actually ran a group doing that a few years ago, and got some really good results with the group, but it's been hard to put groups together since then. But that's something which I know affects several people. Just want you to know that help is available. Depression, everybody has the blues. That's normal. But if you are, taking sick leave from work because you can't get up out of bed, you should be finding our office. If the only place you get up to come to is the counseling unit, please come to us. Because if you're that depressed that you are not being able to eat properly, your sleep is disturbed, you're not being able to focus and concentrate, you need some help. It may not be medication, it may just be through counseling that we help you work through, but you do need help. And I will point out that students on this campus can get depressed enough that there are suicidal feelings, not necessarily created by the stress of the course, but for some people there's a tendency to become depressed, and part of that depression is to have suicidal thoughts. And again, that's an indicator of maybe I should talk to somebody, I need some help, because I've struggled with these thoughts for a while, and they come when I'm under stress, and I know it's stress, but the stress is a little bit more than usual, and the thoughts are more than usual. Time to get help. So we really encourage people to be aware of mental health issues and not to be afraid to speak about them. Olivine, I can't do without you. Definitely really, really important to stress that. Because if Olivine says to you, or anybody says to you, come over to Mrs. Brown, and they don't send me a letter, if she called me and asked me if you come to me, I can't even tell her, say you come. I can lose my license over things like that, now that we are finally licensed as psychologists, right? So I can't confirm unless she sent me a letter to say, please see this student. At which point, the only thing I can do is say, yes, student showed up, no student showed up, didn't show up. I cannot give her details unless you sign a piece of paper and say, Mrs. Brown can talk to X person. Okay? So the confidentiality is assured in the counseling center. In the whole health center, actually, all staff are required to sign a confidentiality agreement. It's part of what every staff member has to do. But in our section, we take it, I think, probably even more seriously than anywhere else. Okay, I wanted to mention another counseling resource, which is really important. It's been here only for a few years. It's called UWI Helps. If you don't want to put any other number in your phone, put in this one for me, please. 294-0042. Of course, the people who staff this are beginning to say to me, Mrs. Brown, why you give out the number like candy? Because they get calls, texts, and of course, because it's now a smartphone, students have started WhatsApping. So whatever means the student uses to communicate. But this is a number, we call it a 24-hour text and phone line. I say 24-hour in the sense that you're going to get a response in less than 24 hours. You're not guaranteed that when you send your text, you'll get a reply next minute, but you will get a reply within a few hours normally. So if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, because we're not employing people to stay awake all night to do this, unfortunately. We haven't reached that level. But you will get a response within a few hours' time, okay? And very often you're getting an immediate response. No, UE Helps is actually for issues that create stress. I was going to put it, maybe I better rephrase that. Because I was going to say it's not for the issues of how do you register. We don't do that. But of course, registering does create stress. But that's not the sort we handle. We handle the, I'm worrying about the fact that I'm rusty. I'm worrying about the fact that I'm not getting on with my group members, anything in the emotional area. But if you text them, call them, whatever, and they can't handle it, they normally find out who can handle your issues. All right? So very helpful. Again, trained professional counselors who are on this line. So all the staff, UE Helps, and the people you see in person, minimum master's level in psychology, counseling, or clinical, and several people at a PhD level. So, having told you about us, I want to move on to talk about the two potential areas of stress: time management and study skills. And by the way, if you've got a question or comment, feel free to throw it at me at any point in time. So, in terms of time management, I want to make the point that it's important to choose how you spend your time and not let other people's circumstances or habit decide for you. When you go to church and the pastor says, and I speak to myself, I don't know if you go to a church like that, but sometimes I hear them say, and I speak to myself. Because I had to smile when I said a habit. One of the ways I waste my time is I sit down declaring I'm going to watch news at night, and you know what happens, the news watches me. It's just become a bad habit that I need to break. So very often when you look at yourself, you're finding that there are habits like that, or you're the sort of person who lets people come into your office at all hours. You don't have a specific office hour. Open door policy, good. But sometimes you're in a different life. You may have to say, look, in the mornings, these 2 hours, you can come check me. In the afternoon, these 2 hours, because you got to tighten up to be able to accommodate school. So the whole matter of not letting other people or circumstances or habit mess up your time management. Personal system of time management that works for you. Ooh, sorry, I'm watching the wrong screen. Because what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for the other. What tends to happen is you got friends who swear that if you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you do your best work. When I tried that, I would fall asleep in 10 minutes. It just does not work. I'm a night person. If you put me up till 4, I'm okay. Ask me to get up at 4 is the worst crime in the world. So you got to understand yourself and know what works for you. Do a time audit. How many of you have done anything like that? Or even know what I'm talking about? Okay, one person. Well, I don't know if I get this word around. Critical tool, people. I'm going to illustrate it in a moment. But a time audit, like any other audit, is looking at what's going on, what's the baseline, what's the status quo, and then what needs to change, okay? So you are auditing, you are checking your time use. So that is a little piece of a possible time audit sheet. The old time looking timetable with a fancy name, but it's different because it covers basically 24 hours, and you're accounting for every hour of how you use your time. So if you use a time audit sheet, you can probably pull one down off the net or just make up your own. If you pull it down, you'll notice it says Plan Monday, Act Monday. What that is you are writing down a plan each day. So I'm going to get up at 6 o'clock. I'm going to have breakfast between 6 and 7. So it's rise and breakfast. 7 o'clock, I hit transport and I'm on my way to work. 8 o'clock, I'm at my desk and I plan to work on George's paperwork. And you write down what you're doing every hour, right back till I'm in bed at midnight, okay? However, life throws us curveballs. So the actual is writing down what you actually do and then comparing them. And most of you already know there's going to be a big difference between what you plan and what you actually do. Now, the way you use that time audit is to go, okay, the plan is my fantasy. The actual is what's really going on in my life. Now, how can I step up my game? What in the actual is really changeable? Because I may have to lower my expectations. I may have to change certain things, especially now that I'm doing 2 really full-time things, probably working and studying. So I'm going to have to make some changes. But we see that. A lot of people tell me I carry it in my head. Having done this exercise in our own office several years ago, we know there's a huge difference between doing it in your head and doing it on paper. That's when you see, for example, we did not realize how much time we spent making telephone contact with clients, because that's not in our diaries. Our diaries have clients from X time to X time. But in the middle of all of that, we're trying to contact people and sort out things. So what did we do? We reserved an hour when we didn't see clients and use that for emails, telephone calls, etc. So the actual is to help you make adjustments. Because as I say, when you see it in writing, you go, oh Lord, how'd that happen? And I'll tell you an interesting thing in terms of if you're honest, what will happen? You will realize you're spending far more time on WhatsApp, watching reading the jokes and whatever, email, etc., of things that are not really pertinent to what you are supposed to be doing right now. Facts of life for all of us. Be sure to schedule rest, play, and time for relationships. There are people who by the time they're living with somebody and by the time they finish relationship mashup. And one reason is you haven't made time for the partner. And if that partner is your source of love and joy and satisfaction, and maybe to the source of some of your funds for coming here, quite honestly, life is going to get pretty tough if you have no love and no money. So I would say pay some attention to the significant other in your life. Some of you might be significant others, but I'm not going there. But be sure to schedule time for the significant relationships and be sure to get some rest. If you came through UWI as an undergrad on Hall, there's this famous UWI statement, sleep is a concept, is a lie. And as used to be said in my ancient days, mash down that lie, right? Try to understand. The research is showing very clearly, and it's all over the internet if you look, that people need them sleep anywhere between 6 and 8 hours in actual fact. You're not going to get that every night, but you should not be running on 2 hours for 2 weeks straight. You're going to crash. So scheduling is really important. Which means figure out what you don't need to do and stop doing it. You're going to say, Mrs. Brown, you really sort of mad for true, you know. What do you mean by that? What I mean is there are things that you really don't have to take on. Some of you are house-proud people, you ladies especially. Everything have to be in harder. The book stacked up just right, not a speck of dust. People it over. You can't do that and get through this degree. Things going to have to go a little haywire. So there's some things you're going to have to go. You know, I used to do all the shopping on the weekend, but I have a partner in the house who don't like go supermarket. We got to sit down and have a long talk, sweetheart, because you're going to have to go with the list now. What is it that you can delegate? What is it that doesn't have to be done as often? What is it that doesn't have to be done at all? So therefore, don't let the urgent things shortchange the important things. And just a quick graphic. A time management matrix you may come across in different places, but it uses 2 axes. One, things that are of high importance or low importance. The other axes are the urgent things. So you will often find that there are certain things which are both important and urgent. Say there are deadlines. If the paper is due, you know, this week, everything else is going to have to get dropped to meet that deadline so you get your grade and you pass and you come out. Okay, important and urgent. But you might also find that some things are low urgency and low importance. So like I said, you know, all them nice WhatsApp videos that make you laugh may have to just not get no time for the next 2 weeks. You don't even turn it on, except to check what your group's saying. You know the people them who send you nice, you know, forwards, you don't bother check for them WhatsApp. You just check for what your group and your family is saying. Because otherwise, this low important, low urgency matter is crowding out the time from the high important and highly urgent matters. And so you want to be sure that, however, you don't just let the crises rule your life, but that you make sure that the things that are truly important and are maybe not that urgent get time. So in quadrant 2, the activities that are not urgent but are really important. Your relationship time, time for some recreation. Some of you need to go to the gym. Even though you're here, you need to carve out like a gym time or like a walking time, because that's how you stay healthy. All right? So you want to make sure that the other things, which are not that important, don't crowd out the things that are significant but not urgent. So, one of the things we recommend, long-term planning, year plan, semester plan, and a weekly plan. I know you know this, but bear with me a little bit. Nice, pretty thing, school year planning. You think that is for the picnics them, right? If you have picnic, get one for them. Get one for yourself. Why? I love my smartphone, but it don't give me a spreadsheet for the year. At least I haven't found that yet. Have you? Maybe you can get it on your phone, and I'm just ignorant, but if necessary, if you can do it on the phone, do it on the phone. But what you want is something which gives you an overview, if not for the year, for the entire semester. Why? Because when we use our daily to-do list and our weekly planner, we flip the page this week of the diary, and we go, oh my God, what is facing me next week? I have 3 papers to hand in, and I only thought I had 2. You with me? Whereas when you have that calendar on your wall, and you've written in, as you get the assignments, they get written in, you don't get nasty shocks. All right? So it's an old-time tool, but I haven't found anything better. You write on it, by the way, not just the things that have to do with deadlines for school, put them in brilliant red or something, or orange, or magenta, or whatever, but you also write on things like, you know, your child's birthday, which is coming this Saturday, and you have a big exam the Monday, and you figure out what it is that you really are going to do, because this is a significant birthday for the picnic. Yep, I saw life go, people. Again, setting specific goals. People go, I'm going to study, and I go, that's not a goal, you know, SMART goal stuff. Be specific. You know, 2 chapters, 1 chapter, whatever the story is, but be specific, and don't be overambitious. Most of us are going to read a chapter, and the time we have it can only be half. Be flexible when necessary. A lot of us get very stuck on it. Has to be done this way. This is going to test your rigidity, and rigid is not good. If you're too rigid, you break. If you're flexible, you can move with the storms of life. And then the other suggestion here is using the internet efficiently. And I just want to remind you, it's a great help, great tool, but can be a great time waster too. A little bit about secrets of making time. Increase your energy and mental focus so you can do tasks in less time. And those are things like mini vacations, just breathing, just stretching. Things like that are helpful in terms of being able to free up your energy. If you're an owl, do it at night. If you're a lark, get up in the morning. And we talked about the rest already. Organize your tasks efficiently, the to-do list, control the clutter. Many of us, we can't find a thing on our desk, and you're going to be adding stuff to it, no papers. Organize your papers. Try not to have to touch it more than you need to. And then use downtime effectively, because when you're waiting, again, we all know that thing. If you listen to something, you're reading something. And I'm going to skip past this one, just to my favorite quote. The bad news is time flies. The good news is you are the pilot. And then a quick word on study skills. Especially for those of you who've been out for a while, it's important to prepare for re-entry. Be willing to try new methods. If when you were here it was go to the library and you weren't too afraid with the, getting the database online, you have to learn how to do that now because we're in the modern era. Utilize available means of help, both faculty members and fellow students. We've talked about that. Remember, your students, your group especially, becomes a major resource in your life. And don't be embarrassed about asking for help. I'm a quote person, so one of my favorite quotes too is a Confucius one. Confucius say, "He who asks a question is a fool for 5 minutes. He who does not ask is a fool for life." Try to read ahead, people. I know you know that. And to review your notes is the basics we're doing here, if possible before the next class. Polish your writing skills. If you're not too hot with that, you're going to have to learn. Find a good friend who did get the A's in writing courses and ask them to read and edit for you and learn what you're looking for. Pardon me? Okay, thank you. You know, the internet has the answer for everything, Grammarly. So if those who don't know about that, check her afterwards, and she will help you to sort that out. The networking begins. Prepare early for exams. People, this is not a course you can pass by doing it the night before. May I underline that for you? No night before stories. And remember that it isn't a matter what you do right through the semester is really what's going to make you pass. So you're doing your reading. What you should be doing a few days before the exam is a review, not working with material for the very first time in your life. So it's why it's critical to keep up. Because those of you who scraped through undergrad, well, you didn't scrape through, you wouldn't be here. Those of you who flew through undergrad, managing to manage with the, week before cramming, it nah go work at this level. Trust me. But when you have exams, please don't go into that major anxiety mode. If you're tending to that, come to us, please, because you need a positive mindset. It's an I can do it rather than I can't. Because if you go in there saying I can't, you're halfway defeated. If you go in there knowing a certain amount, but not as much as you want, but you're confident in yourself, you can do what I did as an undergrad, take my zoology and answer the botany paper and I still pass. Because what you're doing is, or maybe the other way around, but you are manipulating information to show that you understand concepts, and you have some concepts, all right, once you have been coming to class and doing some work. For those of you who are starting all over again, be clear about why you have chosen to study, because it is going to test your faith repeatedly. And you're going to ask yourself, why am I doing this? So write down on a wall somewhere, I am at UWI because, in big bold letters. And when you want to give up, go back to that because, please. Be prepared for challenges. They will come. Keep focused, but most of all, enjoy the learning process. I wish you well, and I will stop chattering so the next person can come along.